I've been married to Jessica for 4 years, and for the most part it's been a pretty decent ride. We met in college, bonded over an unhealthy obsession with late-night pizza and Netflix binging. A couple of years later we tied the knot, and I thought we were in it for the long haul. I mean, who doesn't expect their partner to be faithful? But last week, things took a turn that I never saw coming, and it's been a whirlwind of emotions since then. Things started feeling off a few months ago. Jessica became a bit more distant, often lost in her phone. At first, I brushed it off as her being busy with work and life. She's in marketing and has been working overtime to meet deadlines. But then I started noticing little things. She'd come home late more frequently, wearing clothes that didn't smell like home anymore. And there were those moments where she'd snap at me for the most trivial things, like the way I loaded the dishwasher or how I left my shoes by the door. It was like that charming girl I married had been replaced by someone, well, a lot less charming. The real kicker came one Friday night when I decided to surprise her with dinner. I picked up her favorite Thai food and a bottle of wine, thinking it would be just what she needed after a long week. When I got home, though, the door was ajar and the lights were dimmed. It was strange because Jessica had told me she'd be working late. I walked in, calling her name, but got no response. My heart raced as I moved further into the house, and that's when I heard laughter, her laughter coming from our bedroom. I froze. My mind raced through a million scenarios, but as I crept closer, I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. I peeked into the bedroom, and there they were, Jessica and some guy I had never seen before, tangled up in our sheets. The sight felt like a punch to the gut. I didn't need to see more. I turned on my heel and rushed out, barely making it to the car before the tears started streaming down my face. After the initial shock wore off, I was consumed by anger. How could she do this to me? I had trusted her completely. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Thoughts whirled around in my head. Should I confront her? Should I pack my bags and leave? Should I just drive away and never look back? I ended up just driving around for a while aimlessly. I needed to clear my head. In the end, I decided I had to confront her. I owed myself that much. I can't say I was ready for what was about to unfold, but I thought I deserved an explanation. When I walked back into that house, my heart was racing, not with love but with rage and betrayal. Jessica was still there, having no clue that I had discovered her secret life. As I stood in the living room, she walked out of the bedroom, her hair tousled, wearing that same tight top that always drove me wild. She smiled at me, and for a moment I felt a flicker of hope, that maybe it was all a misunderstanding. But deep down I knew better. "Hey, babe. I didn't think you'd be home so soon," she said, her voice a little too cheerful. "Yeah, well, surprise," I replied, my voice flat. "We need to talk." Her smile faltered, and I could see her processing something. I could see every excuse she was trying to come up with. I was feeling angry, betrayed, but I was also terrified. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her tone shifting to something more cautious. I took a deep breath, gathering myself, and forced the words out. "I saw you with another guy, Jess, in our bed. How could you do this to me?" Her face dropped, and I watched as panic overtook her features. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. "You must have seen it wrong. I was just hanging out with a friend." "A friend?" I shot back, my voice rising. "A friend who ends up in our bedroom at night. Spare me the lies." Her expression twisted from panic to defiance. "You don't understand. It's not what you think. You never listened to me. I was lonely." Lonely. My heart raced with confusion and hurt. Here was a woman who had betrayed me, trying to paint herself as the victim. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me with her excuses. "Save it. Jess, this is on you. I trusted you." I yelled, feeling my emotions boil over. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to make her feel the same pain I felt, but I held it in. It was like a dam breaking inside me, and I was terrified of what would come next. Jessica's face changed as she tried to process my words. It was almost like watching a light flicker on and off in her eyes. There was a moment of silence, then she began to fidget, her fingers nervously twisting her hair, a tell I'd come to recognize over the years. "Look, I was going to tell you," she stammered, but I could see that she was lying. It was written all over her face, the way her eyes darted to the floor and back up to me, as if she were searching for the right words that would magically absolve her. "Tell me what, Jess?" That you've been cheating on me. That you've been sharing our bed with some random guy while I've been out working late, thinking I was doing it for us. My voice cracked a bit, but I pushed through the pain. I didn't mean for it to happen, she exclaimed, her tone growing defensive. It's just, I don't know, things have been different between us and different. I interjected, overwhelmed by a mix of rage and sorrow. You didn't think you should discuss this with me instead of sleeping with someone else? What happened to all those promises we made? I didn't think you'd understand. You've been so wrapped up in your work, and I felt. Felt what, Jess? Lonely. That's not an excuse to betray someone who loves you. My voice was rising again, but I couldn't help it. It felt like the walls were closing in around me. She threw her hands up in frustration, the drama of the moment spilling into her features. You don't get it. You don't understand how hard it's been for me. I've been trying to keep everything together, and you're just so busy with your job that you don't even see me anymore. A part of me wanted to argue back, to list every time I had tried to bring her into my world, but I realized that it wouldn't matter. This wasn't about the past. This was about the monumental betrayal standing between us like an insurmountable wall. Stop making this about me. You made a choice, Jess, a choice to cheat on your husband. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat reminding me of the gravity of the situation. Her eyes watered, and I could see her struggling to maintain her composure. It was a mistake, she pleaded, her voice dropping to a whisper. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you come to me with your feelings? The silence hung there like a thick fog, and I could see her heart racing as she tried to come up with something that would redeem her. But deep down, I knew there was no redemption for this. Finally, she broke the silence, her voice shaky. I thought we could fix it, that we could get back to where we were. Fix what? I shot back, bitterness lacing my words. You shattered that trust the moment you brought someone else into our lives. This isn't just a minor issue. It's a complete violation of everything we built together. I could see the fight leaving her. Her shoulders sagged as she glanced away, and I felt a pang of something. Was it pity? I didn't want to feel pity for her. I wanted to be angry. Angry enough to scream and shake her and make her see the devastation she had caused. Maybe, I thought you wouldn't care, she murmured, almost to herself. Not care? Of course I care. I've dedicated my life to us. I thought we were in this together, but I guess I was wrong. The realization settled over me like a heavy blanket. I was talking to a stranger who had taken my wife's place. The woman standing before me was a facade, hiding behind excuses and half-truths, trying to paint herself as a victim in a situation where she was the perpetrator. Where is he, the guy you were with? I asked, needing to know the details. Her eyes widened, and I could see the panic rising in her again. You don't want to know that. Try me. I snapped, feeling the adrenaline coursing through my veins. She hesitated, biting her lip as if weighing her options. His name is Mark. He works at the same agency. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Just happened. I laughed bitterly, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You think that's a valid excuse for jumping into bed with someone else? You think I'm going to sit here and listen to you downplay this? Her face was a mixture of shame and defiance, and I could see she was struggling to keep her composure. I took a deep breath, feeling a wave of emotions crashing over me. I was angry, yes, but I was also shattered. I loved this woman, or at least the woman I thought she was. With a heavy heart, I realized that this wasn't just about betrayal. This was about the loss of trust, the shattering of everything we had built. I felt like I was in a nightmare, and I couldn't wake up. As I stared into her eyes, I knew I had to make a decision. I needed to figure out how I was going to move forward from this point. But that thought was paralyzing. I couldn't even think straight with the whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. I backed away, trying to create some distance. I need some air. I turned to leave, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on me, as if the world had tilted on its axis. I stepped outside into the cool night air, and it felt like a lifeline. I needed to breathe, to think, to clear my head. My thoughts were racing faster than I could process, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jessica and that stranger in our bed. Anger surged in my chest, but so did a deep, gnawing sadness. I felt like I'd lost a part of myself that I might never get back. I paced back and forth in front of the house, my heart racing. I couldn't believe this was happening to me. I had devoted myself to Jessica, to our life together, and now it felt like everything was crumbling before my eyes. I thought about our dreams, the plans we had made for the future, and all the moments that now felt tainted. How could I have been so blind? At that moment, a thought struck me. She had cheated, but it was also her choice to lie and be deceitful. I felt anger bubbling within me again, but I didn't want to let it consume me. I needed to think rationally. I took out my phone and texted my best friend, Tom. We'd been through thick and thin together, and I needed someone to talk to. I sent a simple message: "Need to talk, it's urgent." Within minutes, my phone buzzed. "What's up, man? Can you talk now?" I hesitated for a moment, then texted back, "Yeah, I need to vent, I'm at home." Tom arrived about 20 minutes later, his face a mixture of concern and confusion. As soon as he stepped out of his car, I could tell he sensed something was wrong. "Dude, what's going on?" he asked, his tone serious. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Jessica cheated on me," I blurted out, and the words felt like a weight dropping into my gut. "What? Are you serious?" Tom's eyes widened in disbelief. "How do you know?" I ran a hand through my hair, feeling the frustration swell again. "I caught her in bed with some guy, Mark, some coworker apparently. I don't even know how long this has been going on." Tom shook his head, clearly struggling to comprehend the situation. "Man, I'm so sorry, that's messed up. What did she say?" I recounted the confrontation, her excuses, the lies she had thrown at me like they were confetti. She tried to downplay it, saying it just happened, as if that makes it any better. Tom's expression shifted to one of deep empathy. "Dude, that's brutal. I can't believe she would do that to you. You deserve better." "Do I?" I replied, my voice cracking again. "I thought we had something real, something special. Now I feel like I've been living a lie." "Listen, you need to figure out what you want next," Tom said, his tone now more serious. "You can't let her manipulate you. If she's willing to cheat, what makes you think she can change?" His words hit home. I had to think about my future, and I had to think about myself for once. I was so caught up in trying to fix things and make it work that I hadn't considered my own worth. "I don't know, man. Part of me wants to work it out to see if we can fix this. But how do you even do that after something like this?" Tom shrugged, looking thoughtful. "You need to take a step back. You don't have to make a decision right now. Give yourself some time to process everything. But don't let her guilt you into staying or forgiving her just because she's feeling sorry for herself." I nodded slowly, his words resonating with me. I wasn't ready to make any decisions tonight, but I knew I had to establish boundaries. I needed to stand up for myself. "Thanks, man, I appreciate you being here," I finally said, feeling a bit more grounded. "Anytime. Just remember, you're not alone in this. You've got people who care about you," Tom replied. As we chatted about lighter topics, I tried to distract myself from the chaos unfolding in my life. But I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. The anger simmered just beneath the surface, waiting to erupt again. I realized then that I would need a plan, a way to address what happened with Jessica and what I wanted moving forward. Later that night, after Tom left, I found myself standing in the living room, staring at the familiar surroundings that suddenly felt foreign. My gaze fell on our wedding photo hanging on the wall. We looked so happy, so in love. I traced the outline of our smiling faces with my finger, and the heartache surged again. I knew I couldn't live in this state of limbo, trapped between love and betrayal. I had to confront Jessica again, but this time it wouldn't be about yelling or accusations. It would be about making decisions for my future. I needed to know if she was genuinely remorseful or if she saw this as some little bump in the road. I sat on the couch, lost in thought. My heart was heavy with sadness, but I could also feel a flicker of determination growing inside me. I had to do what was best for me, even if that meant confronting the painful truth about my marriage. With that thought, I decided I wouldn't let fear or anger cloud my judgment. Tomorrow, I would lay everything on the table. I would demand honesty and transparency from her. I had been the one to fight for our marriage, and now it was time for her to fight for it too. As I drifted off to sleep that night, I realized that this was just the beginning of an uphill battle, but I was ready to face whatever came next. I owed it to myself to find out where I truly stood in this mess. I woke up the next morning with a sense of purpose, though the heaviness in my chest still lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, but I knew I had to confront Jessica again and lay everything out in the open. I needed to know where we stood and if we could salvage anything from this wreckage. As I prepared for the day, I couldn't help but replay the events of the previous night in my mind. Tom's words echoed, "You need to figure out what you want." I thought about the life I thought I was building with Jessica, the plans we made, and how quickly everything could unravel. I was still grappling with the shock of it all, but I was determined not to let her lies define my future. When I heard the front door open, I felt my heart race. Jessica was home, and I knew I had to confront her now. The sound of her heels clicking against the floor sent a chill down my spine. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves, and walked into the living room where she was hanging her coat. "Hey, you're up early," she said cheerfully, but I could see the tension in her smile. "Yeah, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady. Her smile faltered and her eyes darted away, a telltale sign that she knew what was coming. "About what?" she asked, her voice suddenly cautious. "About us, about what happened." I crossed my arms, trying to maintain a calm demeanor. "I want to know where you really stand." She hesitated, her expression shifting from casual to serious. "Okay, what do you want to know?" "Everything," I replied, my voice firm. "I want the truth, no sugarcoating. Just tell me how long this has been going on and why you did it." She bit her lip and looked down as if trying to gather her thoughts. "It was a mistake, I swear. It just happened. I didn't plan for it. It was one night after work. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong at the time." "Not wrong? You're telling me you didn't think cheating on your husband was wrong? What kind of twisted logic is that?" I felt anger bubbling up again, but I forced myself to remain calm. "It's complicated. Mark was just someone I vented to about work and how stressed I was. I never intended for it to go that far." "Complicated? It's pretty simple, Jessica. You chose to betray me. You chose to lie about it. That's not complicated, that's just plain wrong." She looked at me, her eyes glistening with tears, and for a brief moment I felt a pang of sympathy. But then I reminded myself of the pain and betrayal she had inflicted on me. "I realize I made a terrible mistake," she said, her voice shaky. "But I'd do anything to fix it. I love you. I don't want to lose you. Do you even understand what you're asking of me?" I shot back. "You can't just say you love me and expect me to forget everything. Trust is shattered. You've taken something fundamental from us." "I know," she yelled, her voice rising in frustration. "I know I messed up, but I'm willing to work on it, to go to counseling, to do whatever it takes to make this right." I was taken aback by her desperation, but I needed to think clearly. "Counseling? You think a therapist can fix this? No amount of talking is going to change the fact that you chose to be with another man. It's going to take more than that to rebuild what we had." "Then what do you want from me?" she pleaded, her voice cracking. "I'm here. I'm willing to fight for us." "Prove it," I said, my tone firm. "Prove to me that you're serious about wanting to make this work. I need to see genuine remorse. I need to see you fight for us, not just throw around words." "I will," she exclaimed, determination flooding her voice. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll cut contact with Mark. I'll be open and honest about everything. Just please don't give up on me." I studied her face, watching the emotions play out: fear, regret, and a desperate hope. Part of me wanted to believe her, to see if we could salvage something from this wreckage. But another part of me felt like it was a trap, a way for her to manipulate the situation in her favor. "Being open goes both ways, Jess," I said, my voice steady. "You can't just expect me to trust you blindly. I need to know that you're committed to fixing this. I want to see changes, genuine ones." "I understand," she replied, her voice softening. "I'll do anything you want, I promise." "Then we'll take it one day at a time," I said, my heart heavy. "But know this, I won't tolerate any more lies. If you cross that line again, there won't be a second chance." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I promise I won't. I love you too much to throw everything away." As the words hung in the air, I felt a mix of hope and dread. I didn't know if we could truly fix this, but I was willing to try. If she was willing to put in the work, to show me she meant it. I took a seat on the couch, feeling the weight of the conversation settling in. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but I knew this was just the beginning. We had a long road ahead of us, filled with uncertainty and the potential for heartbreak. But for now, we were both willing to fight for what we had, and that had to count for something. We spent the rest of the day talking through our feelings, but it felt like we were both walking on eggshells. I could sense the tension lingering in the air, but amid the uncertainty, there was a flicker of hope. Jessica's willingness to fight for us gave me a sense of cautious optimism, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. As night fell, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. I realized that this was not just about Jessica's betrayal, it was also about my own sense of identity. I needed to reclaim my self-worth, to remember that I deserved to be treated with respect and love. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for the first time in a while, I felt a glimmer of strength. I was determined to set the boundaries I needed to protect my heart, no matter how difficult it might be. We would take it one day at a time, but I had to remember that I was still in control of my own destiny. The next few days were an emotional roller coaster. Jessica and I navigated through the fallout of her betrayal, a mixture of awkward silence and hesitant conversations filling our home. She had cut off contact with Mark, as promised, and I could see she was trying to make an effort to reconnect with me. But every time she reached out, I felt a pang of distrust. Could I really believe her? We decided to go to couples therapy. I figured it was a step in the right direction, but I was also skeptical. I didn't want to sit in a room with a stranger talking about our problems when the root of the issue was so painfully clear. Nonetheless, I knew I had to give it a chance. At our first session, we sat across from the therapist, Jane, who was kind yet straightforward. She encouraged us to share our feelings, to be open about the hurt and pain we were experiencing. Jessica started by expressing her remorse for cheating, how sorry she was, and how much she wanted to make things right. As she spoke, her face flushed with emotion. Part of me wanted to believe her sincerity, but the memories of her betrayal loomed over me like a dark cloud. I listened intently, my heart heavy with conflicting emotions. Having an affair is a breach of trust, and it's understandable that you're feeling hurt and betrayed, Jane said, looking at me with empathy. But it's also important to explore why things led to that decision. Jessica, you mentioned feeling lonely. Can you elaborate on that? Jessica nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I thought I was doing everything right. I was trying to support him, but I felt lost. I didn't know how to communicate my needs without feeling like I'd be a burden. I guess I thought I could find solace elsewhere. But instead, you hurt the very person you claim to love, I interjected, my voice trembling with emotion. How do we move past that? We can work through this, Jane assured. Healing takes time. Both of you need to communicate openly about your feelings and needs moving forward. I felt a flicker of hope, but I also knew that words were just that, words. I needed to see actions to believe that she was genuinely committed to repairing our relationship. Over the next few weeks, we continued attending therapy sessions, and while it was exhausting, it allowed us to delve deeper into our issues. Jessica began opening up about her feelings, and I tried to share my pain without lashing out. Slowly, we started to rediscover each other, but it was a slow and tedious process. I had my days of anger, moments where I'd feel the betrayal wash over me like a tidal wave. There were nights where I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was making a mistake by trying to save our marriage. On those nights, I'd think about what life would be like without her. But then I'd remember the laughter we had shared, the adventures we went on, and the love that had brought us together in the first place. I didn't want to throw it all away without exhausting every option. One night, after a particularly tough therapy session, we sat on the couch in silence. I could see the anxiety in Jessica's eyes, and I knew she was feeling the weight of our situation. Do you think we can really make this work? She finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to believe we can, but it's going to take time, I replied, honesty spilling from my lips. I need to see consistent changes from you, and I need to feel safe in this relationship again. I understand, she said, her voice shaking. I know I've messed up, but I'm committed to proving to you that I can be better. I want to earn your trust back. Trust is a fragile thing, Jess. It doesn't just come back because you say it will. It's going to take a lot longer than either of us wants to admit. She nodded, her eyes glistening again. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm willing to fight for you. Her determination touched something inside me, but I also felt a familiar dread creeping in. What if it was just another empty promise? The days turned into weeks, and we found ourselves falling back into a routine. We started going out on dates again, though everything felt different. I felt like I was constantly on guard, waiting for a sign that she would betray me again. One evening, as we were preparing dinner together, Jessica reached for my hand, surprising me. "I know this is hard for you, and I can't even begin to imagine the pain I've caused. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm committed to making things right," she said, her voice sincere. "I appreciate that, but it's a long road ahead," I said, trying to temper my expectations. "I need to take baby steps, Jess. I need to reclaim my trust in you." "I get it," she replied, squeezing my hand. "And I'll be patient. I believe in us." Her words sunk in, and for the first time in a while I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe we could rebuild. Maybe, with time and effort, we could figure this out. But doubts still lingered. Every time I checked my phone, I felt the urge to look for signs of deceit. It was exhausting, and I knew I had to let that go if we were to move forward. As the weeks went by, I began to recognize the small changes in Jessica, her willingness to communicate more openly, her efforts to make time for us, and her commitment to showing me she was serious about making things right. The healing process was slow and painful, but I could feel a shift in our dynamic. One night, after a particularly good dinner date, I sat down with her, and for the first time in ages, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I reached for her hand again. "I'm proud of how far we've come," I said softly. "I know we still have a long way to go, but I can see you're trying." "Thank you," she replied, her eyes sparkling with hope. "I won't let you down again." And in that moment, I realized that this journey was about more than just salvaging a marriage. It was about rediscovering ourselves as individuals and as a couple. We had both made mistakes, but perhaps we could grow from them. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt a flicker of optimism. We were working together, learning to navigate the complexity of love and trust. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And sometimes, a start was all you needed to believe in the possibility of a brighter future. As the weeks turned into months, Jessica and I continued to navigate the rocky road of our relationship. Therapy sessions became a staple in our routine, and with each visit, we peeled back more layers of pain and misunderstanding. We were learning to communicate better, to listen to each other, and most importantly, to be vulnerable. But healing is never linear. There were days when the weight of betrayal felt like a stone around my neck, and I struggled to keep my head above water. I would find myself questioning everything: my worth, her loyalty, and whether we could truly rebuild what had been lost. One evening, during a particularly challenging session, I struggled to articulate my feelings. "I don't want to feel like this anymore," I admitted, my voice breaking. "I don't want to live in fear of losing you again." Jessica reached out, her hand finding mine. "I'm scared too. Every day I think about how I almost ruined everything. But I promise I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere." The sincerity in her voice resonated with me, and I realized that while the scars of betrayal would never fully fade, we were both committed to healing. Through the ups and downs, we were finally starting to find a new rhythm. As autumn approached, I could feel the air shifting, both outside and within our relationship. We began to embrace the idea of moving forward, but with cautious optimism. We talked about rebuilding trust, creating new memories, and making our relationship stronger than it had ever been before. One evening, we decided to take a weekend trip to a cabin in the woods, hoping to escape the chaos of everyday life. The crisp air and scenic beauty provided a refreshing backdrop for us to reconnect. As we sat by the fire, watching the flames dance, I could feel the tension between us slowly dissipating. "Remember when we used to do things like this?" Jessica smiled, wrapping her arms around her knees. I nodded, a sense of nostalgia washing over me. "Yeah, it feels good to be away from everything for a bit. Do you think we can ever get back to that?" she asked, a hint of vulnerability in her voice. I took a deep breath, contemplating her question. "I think we can, but it's going to take time. I need to feel safe again. I need to know that you're really committed." "I am. I'll do anything to prove it," she said earnestly. "I want to rebuild our life together. I miss the way we used to be." In that moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps we could redefine our relationship, not as it was, but as something new, forged in the fires of adversity. Over the next few months, we continued to take things slowly. I learned to let go of my fears, even if just a little at a time. Jessica worked hard to show me she was serious about changing, and I could see her taking steps to be more open and honest. Yet, the temptation to slip back into old patterns loomed over us. I had days where I felt overwhelmed, reliving the betrayal in my mind. The pain would surface unexpectedly, and I struggled to manage it. It was during one of those tough moments that I realized the importance of leaning on my support network. I reached out to Tom, who had been my rock throughout this ordeal. "Dude, how are you holding up?" he asked during one of our calls. "I'm trying," I admitted. "Some days are harder than others. I want to believe in her, but I can't shake the memories." "Just keep communicating, man. You're doing the right thing by addressing it head on. That's the only way you'll find peace." His words resonated with me, and I could feel the weight of my doubts slowly start to lift. I realized that healing was not just about forgetting the past, but about acknowledging it and building something stronger together. As winter approached, we found ourselves at a crossroads. We had made significant progress, but I knew there was still much work to be done. One evening, as we sat in the living room, I took Jessica's hand. "I want us to redefine our future," I said, looking into her eyes. "But I need to know you're fully committed to this. No more secrets, no more lies." "I promise," she replied, squeezing my hand tightly. "I want to be the partner you deserve. I want us to be stronger than ever." In that moment, I felt a surge of hope. I realized that while the past would always be a part of our story, it didn't have to dictate our future. We were both willing to put in the work to rebuild our relationship, and that meant something. As the first snowflakes began to fall outside, I smiled at Jessica, a sense of peace settling over me. Maybe we were on the right path after all. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in months, I felt ready to embrace the uncertainty of our future together. Perhaps love could be redefined, reborn from the ashes of betrayal. And if we could survive this, maybe we could conquer anything life threw our way. In that moment, I decided to let go of my fears and embrace the possibility of a new beginning.